Where did you get your confidence? If I were to ask you that question, what would you say? See, that same question was asked to me about a year ago. And the only thing that could come to my head and the only thing that came out of my mind was, I don't know. And see, the thing is that to that point where I had gotten, somebody thought that I was so confident that they had to ask me where I had gotten it. And for me to say that I don't know, I had to figure it out. So I took a step back and I thought, well, maybe it was all the books that I had read. Because over the last few years, I had read a lot of books. See, in 2015, I picked up Audible for the first time. And the reason I picked it up is because I had moved from Southern California to Northern California. And I wasn't doing very well. I was having a hard time making ends meet, and my relationships were not good. So I thought I wanted more out of life. And so I had read that a CEO will read about 52 books a year. And I thought maybe if I do the same thing, if I can mimic that and I can start consuming a lot of information, my life will change too. And so I read about 1 to 2 hours each day, every single day, 7 days a week. And my life didn't change. And so I started looking at the books, and I'm like, okay, well, there must be a pattern at the books that I'm reading, because I'm reading a lot of books. And I realized that the vast majority of them were inspirational, motivational, self-help, self-development books. And so maybe I was asking the wrong question. Maybe it was that I was motivated for such a long time that I became confident. Or maybe confidence and motivation were actually the same thing. They were intertwined, right? But that's not the case, and let me show you why. See, if I were to give you two options right now, which would you pick? Would you rather have someone who's unmotivated, or would you rather have someone who doesn't have any confidence? And see, before you're tempted to answer that quickly, because you might think it's the exact same thing, I want you to do this. I want you all to close your eyes very quickly. And I want you to think of the best surgeon that you can imagine. And as you're thinking of that person, I want you to think of them in what they would be wearing if they're about to do a procedure. I want you to think of the gloves, the mask, the cap. And you can go ahead and open your eyes. The reason I want you to vividly think of this person is because if they were about to perform a surgery on you right now, and right as you're about to go under, right, you find out that this person was lacking so much confidence the night before that they were watching YouTube motivational videos all night. How would you feel? It would make you nervous. Because we expect people that we trust to be confident. And we don't expect them, when they're not confident, to replace it with motivation. We expect the professionals in our lives to be confident, and we expect our doctors to be confident, we expect our lawyers to be confident. But for some reason, we have sayings like, fake it till you make it. And when you have those sayings, it makes it really easy to diminish confidence and say, well, you don't need confidence. All you need is motivation to get you through this thing that you're about to do, which is completely incorrect. So the question I propose to you guys today is this. Does motivation actually matter, or are you simply lacking confidence? And we're going to answer this in 3 points, okay? And the reason that I do it in 3 points is because as humans, within 24 hours, you're going to forget 70% of everything that I tell you. That's just the reality. So if I can have you take away 30%, I want you to remember these 3 things. The first one is that you simply lack confidence in what you do not know. And so if I were to ask right now, show of hands, who has ever been in sales or is currently in sales? Okay. So you know that if you've sold multiple products at once, and you have the ability to sell all these, but for some reason the one that's right in front of you, you cannot sell, unless this thing is completely horrible and not one person has ever bought it and they hate you because you sold it to them, it is simply confidence that you are lacking in this product. And so for me, it was made very apparent because in 2016, I had just moved back down from Northern California to Southern California because I couldn't make it. I took up a job in manufacturing. We were manufacturing an electromechanical product. And this product was very complex, and we had a full line of them, and even then I was still selling quite a few of them. But for some reason, engineering decided to say, these are very good, but let's go ahead and convert one of these things into a solar operator. So just so you guys know, these things had, AC power, DC power, relays, circuits, things that you'll never have to deal with in your life. And then on top of that, they're like, let's make it solar. Now you have to learn about wattages, amperages, solar conversions. You have to know about the sun, and for some reason, you have to compensate for the sun when it's not out. It was horrible. So I wasn't selling much of it, obviously. But the engineer who had made it pulled me aside and he goes, I see that you're selling a lot of these, but for some reason you're not selling this one. Why is that? And so, of course, as a salesperson, I give a very salesperson answer. Well, it doesn't work. And so I really appreciate this about him because he looked at me without hesitation and he says, Are you just repeating what other people are telling you? Or do you actually know that it doesn't work? Have you tested it yourself? Have you actually used it? Have you seen it fail? And so it hit me right away. I hadn't done any of that stuff. I was solely relying on what people told me, and I had actually never tested it to make sure that it failed. And therefore, it wasn't the actual confidence in the product that I had. It was the confidence in myself because I hadn't actually tested it. And so I ask you right now in the audience, are you testing the thing that you lack confidence in? Or are you simply relying on motivation to make yourself feel better that you're not testing it? And it brings us to point number 2, which motivation is not actually a skill that you need. Motivation is just an emotion that you crave. See, as humans, we do things for one reason above all other reasons. We do it to feel good. And we not only want to feel good, because in a time of instant gratification, we want to feel good now. And that is the dangerous part of motivation. It is that we think that we are doing something in the moment, but the reality is that nothing has gotten done. We think that if we can just feel good about the situation that we are in and go through another day, that things will get better. And see, the best way that I can explain this is through the jobs that we take. Sometimes we take jobs out of necessity or out of need. And then what ends up happening is we know that we are no longer passionate about what we are doing, that we took an intro-level job and we should have moved to management, and for some reason it's not happening for us. So we just want to feel better about the moment while nothing is changing. And so what I want you guys to do is I want you to imagine yourself on a boat, and the boat takes you out to the middle of the ocean. And you get dropped out of the boat, and the boat leaves. And so you're left with a few options at this point, right? You say, I'm going to swim in that direction, and if I find land, that would be great. But then as the moment that you're going to start swimming, you go, but what if land is in the opposite direction? So you're like, I'm not going to do that. And you're like, but I see some movement in this direction. I think that might have been where the boat went. Maybe I should follow it. And then the moment that you're going to do it, you think, well, no, what if that's dangerous? What if that's actually sharks over there? So again, you do nothing. And so what ends up happening is you're standing in the same place, and the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So you end up staying there, feeling better about nothing changing as you're drowning. Okay? Motivation does something very interesting in our brains. Motivation actually releases 2 important chemicals. The first one is adrenaline. Adrenaline makes us feel as though we can conquer the world, right? Anybody who's experienced it, you know that is the driver. The second one, though, is the one that we need to be careful with. It's dopamine. Dopamine is the happiness drug. And the thing about dopamine is that the more that we get it, the more that we want it. So therefore, if we know that motivation, every single one of you guys has heard that it fades very quickly, right? So if you are going after motivation and dopamine, and you know that it's going to fade quickly, then you know you need more and more and more and more of it. And not only do you need more and more of it, but then eventually you need it faster and quicker every single time. So if you actually want something that's going to last, you need to find the gaps of confidence that you have within yourself, address those, fix those, and that way you will no longer be reliant on motivation. And so point number 3 is this. The core of your confidence is created when you acquire new skills. See, a Boeing 747 plane can't be built with one person, and it can't be built with one skill. Just as the same way you cannot build an entire life with only one skill. And see, that plane has over 6 million parts. It takes 43 days to build. Not only that, but it takes 14,000 jobs to build one plane. And so if I were to tell you right now that you can build that entire plane with one person who only has one skill, you would think that it was completely unreasonable. You'd think that I was crazy. But see, we go through life thinking that that's what we can do. We think that because we learned one skill during high school, or we picked up a job, or we went to college, that will get us through the entire part of our life. But see, it does not work that way. What if instead we were very conscious about finding new skills that we could acquire? What if instead let's use this as an example, what if instead we decided to go after the one skill that everybody is afraid of above all other skills? The one that drains your confidence the moment that you are asked to do it. You guys know what that is? Public speaking, obviously. Okay, so if we look at it from these 2 perspectives, right? We're going to look at it from the perspective of you can be motivated to public speak, or you can actually try to acquire it as a skill so that way you're confident to public speak. In the first one, motivation will tell you that all you need to do is reassure yourself. That all you need to do is say that I can do this. And that the moment you come on stage, if you feel good, you will be good. But see, at the end of your talk, you know that you bombed it, and because you feel good, you actually don't feel good. Because you know it should have been good. So therefore, when you look at it from the second perspective of acquiring it as a skill, you would say, I need to find the books and the resources and the videos and the experts in this field. And once I do that, then I would find a pattern. And the pattern would say something like this. It would say that you would want to go to the place that you're going to give the talk a few days beforehand. Because if you're able to do that, then you can imagine yourself giving the talk and you would not let fear overtake you. It would also tell you that you should give stories and not facts, because you're going to lose the audience with facts. No one's going to remember them, but they will remember the story. And it might even tell you something about having different pitches in your voice, because if you're able to have different pitches in your voice, then you will not lose the audience. But see, we do not think of skills in this way. We do not think of confidence in this way. We do not think of motivation in this way. We think that simply because a skill is not the type of thing that will pat you on the back and make you feel good in the moment. That is not something that you should actually seek. Every time we say learn something new that is boring or that is not attractive, and we say learn this new skill, we treat it almost like if it were a cold shower, right? And we just run away from it, and we're like, no. But motivation, oh my God, it's a warm embrace. Come here, right? And that's why we really have to ask ourselves the same question that I asked you in the beginning, which is, does motivation actually matter? Or is it simply confidence that you're lacking? And so I'll tell you this. That is a question that I cannot answer for you. That is a question that you have to answer yourself. But see, Socrates said something that was very interesting that I think will make it easier for us. He said, be as you wish to be seen. So if you wish to be seen as confident, then do the things that will actually make you confident.